Okay, so now that we've gotten our images kind of laid out, and there's no particular right way of doing this. You can start with text, you can start this with images, but now that we've got images on the page, let's transition to text. Okay, a couple of things to pay attention to first. If we're going to be working with text, we want to work with it in the same way we did images. What we want to do is we want to place text and we want to decide what size and where we want to put the text. So again, we would hit Command D. We would find what we would want to place, and then we would go in and create a box for it. So I'm just going to create a box there. Now you'll notice how I have what appears to be part of an article. Now, I know it's part of an article for two reasons. One, it seems to just end. It doesn't seem to finish a complete thought. But two, and more importantly probably, you see this red plus sign down at the bottom right of this text element, this text box. If I see this plus sign, what this tells me is there is more to this story than what appears on the screen. If I hit the plus sign, you'll notice on the next to my mouse I see the text pop up. This tells me that I can go ahead and create a linked text box that will allow me then to place more text somewhere else in my project. It can be next to the text, it could be on a different page, it could be in a completely different section of, say, a book. It doesn't really make any difference, but I can do this as many times as I choose. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here's three different linked text boxes, and as I adjust one, for example, if I move, let's go with this first text box. If I shrink the first text box, you'll see the text in the second and third text box adjust to accommodate. What that means is that we will try and fill as much space as we can with the article, starting with the first text box, using as much of the first text box as possible, and then moving to the second, and then the third, and then so forth and so on. Let me adjust something real quick before we move forward. Okay, great. We'll talk about what I just did in a second. So, if I've got this text on the page, and you'll see that by extending this text box, I'm giving myself more and more of the text on the page. By having this text on these linked text boxes, I can move these anywhere on this page or throughout my document, multiple pages that I want, but they are always going to be linked. If you've ever seen a newspaper or magazine where an article continues on over multiple pages, or say a story is on the front page of a newspaper and continues on page 3 or 5 or 17. This is exactly how this is done. And as an editor is working on the front page, making the sizes, adjusting the sizes and the shapes, and how he or she wants to lay out the page, the rest of the article is being adjusted elsewhere in the document as well. So these are linked text boxes. Okay. Now that we've got this in, let's talk about some basic formatting of the text. Now, I would always advise to just bring in text. Take out as much of the formatting as you can. So if a reporter or writer is sending you something to be put into a document, please ask them to take out any additional formatting, or you can use various methods to take out formatting yourself. All of this will make your job as an editor easier. You want to be able to control everything in this document based on a couple of key elements. Okay, you don't want to be fighting against hyperlinks. You don't want to be fighting against cascading style sheets and things like that. Now, I've pretty much done that with this article, but there's a couple of things that I've got problems with. If I double click, you'll see that my mouse pops up inside the document, and I can edit and change this document any way I want to. Particularly, the problem I'm running into are these big empty spaces between paragraphs. Again, I want to conserve as much space as I can as I'm editing. So what I want to do is I want to go in and take out these spaces. And I'm just going in and deleting these double returns. Okay. Now, another common thing that you'll see in a lot of articles is people using tabbed indents, just like this, like that, or like this. Okay. Now, this uses a ton of space, and it's not actually the most efficient way of indenting. Again, we want to take out everything other than just your basic font size in our article. Take out all other formatting, because you as the editor will do all the formatting, and it's actually a very easy and quick method. Alright, so here's what you would want to look at as you're formatting your article. First off, click in and select everything in your article. Command A to select all. Next, take a look at your font and your font size. In this case, I'm working with 12-point font. This is going to come in handy as I move forward. 12-point font. Now, things like your indents are going to be linked with the font size that I'm working with. Even the space between lines is often linked with the font size. So that's a very important thing to be aware of. So 12-point is the thing that we are going to be paying attention to here. If I go to the paragraph option, and it's right up next to the character option, the paragraph. Now I have a variety of different paragraph options up here. Things like full left indents, full right indents, bottom line or last line indents, and what's important to us, first line indents. Now, as I said, we don't want a tab indent, but what we do want to do is go in and tell it what size font we're working with. Now, while we have everything in our article selected, both on screen, off screen, and everywhere else in the document, just by hitting Command A, when we go in and tell it we want 12-point, 12 PT font, and hit Enter, you'll notice how we've got indents now that are set for 12-point font all the way through our document. Every single place in our document where there's a new paragraph that has begun, we have a perfect 12-point font indent. If we change the font, let's say we wanted to change it to 10-point font. 10-point, okay? We'll take out the extra indents or the extra returns, highlight everything, Command A, and now instead of 12-point font, we would click 10 PT. And you'll see that it would adjust the entire article to that new 12-point or that new 10-point font, 0.1389 inch indents. Now, comparatively, that is a much more efficient indent than hitting tab. You can take a look at the difference on your own later on if you'd like. But even as I write, let's just say, here's a new sentence. He is well known. If I were to hit Enter, check it out. In the article, it creates those automatic indents anywhere in that article from that point forward. So as an editor, this is incredibly useful. Okay? I'm going to hit Command A because we're about to do something else. Another thing that we want to take a look at, and this is sort of an editor's choice, are hyphenates. Hyphenates are when we have things like, this is a great way to bring in the holiday season, support SFA students, and be entertained. See how student hyphen STU hyphen DENTS. So it's on different lines. A lot of editors don't like this. A lot of editors would rather just have that word on a different line. Up here you have the opportunity to decide whether you want hyphenates or not. By clicking this, you can actually see how it will eliminate or allow the presence of the hyphenate. I'm going to take it away. The final thing we can do is come in and look at how we want to justify or align our text. In this case, I'm going to actually justify all my text with the last line aligned left. So in this case, it keeps all full lines of text justified, but then left aligns any last lines of text that don't fill the entire screen. Creates a nice blocked pattern. And that's a pretty tight edit. Okay? All right, so that's not half bad. All right, so this is some things that we can do very quickly to clean up our text and to lay it out very nicely on a page. Next time, in the next video, we will talk about how to place the text on the page and work it around some of the images.